All right, let's dive into one of Shakespeare's absolute best, the political thriller that is Julius Caesar. We're going to get into the psychology of it all, that messy place where a person's sense of honor slams right into political reality. It's a story of ambition and betrayal that, honestly, never gets old. So let's get into it. Right out of the gate, we get this incredibly famous and chilling warning from a soothsayer. Beware the Ides of March. You've heard it before, right? It just hangs over the entire play like a dark cloud. It's a prophecy of the violence to come, but Caesar, full of pride, he just brushes it off. And that right there sets the whole tragedy in motion, the difference between what people see and what they choose to ignore. Now, to really understand why Caesar gets assassinated, you first have to understand the city of Rome at this moment. It wasn't a peaceful place. It was a powder keg, just waiting for one little spark to set the whole thing off. So you see this massive split immediately. On one side, you've got the ordinary people in the streets, just loving Caesar, throwing a huge party for his latest military victory. But on the other side, you've got these officials, guys like Flavius and Marulus, and they are terrified. They see Caesar's ambition as a threat to the Republic, and they can't believe the crowds are so fickle. I mean, these are the same people who used to cheer for Pompey, the guy Caesar just defeated. That's the core tension right there, the people's love for a strong man versus the elite's fear of a dictator. This tension really comes to a head in two men, two very different men, who end up being the heart and soul of the conspiracy. So let's meet them. Brutus, the noble idealist, and Cassius, the sharp, calculating realist. So what makes these guys tick? Well, they couldn't be more different. Brutus is all about honor. He truly loves Caesar as a friend, but he loves the idea of Rome more. He's terrified that Caesar will become a king and destroy everything. Then you have Cassius. For him, it's not about ideals, it's personal. He is just eaten up with envy. He looks at Caesar and doesn't see a god. He sees a guy who's no better than him, who's somehow gotten all this power. And this line from Cassius, it says it all. He paints this picture of Caesar as a giant statue, a colossus. And everyone else is just these petty men scurrying around underneath him, totally insignificant. You can just feel the personal resentment dripping from those words. This isn't about Rome's future, it's about his own pride. And that jealousy is the fuel he uses to manipulate the honorable Brutus into joining his cause. This brings us to a classic idea in tragic stories, hamartia, or the tragic flaw. Basically, it's when a hero's greatest strength is also the cause of their downfall. And for our noble hero, Brutus, his fatal flaw is that unwavering honor of his. He's so idealistic, so principled, that he's completely blind to the messy, dirty reality of politics and people. And that tragic flaw, that blindness, it doesn't just define who Brutus is. It ends up dictating the entire plan for the conspiracy, and it leads him to make one disastrously naive decision after another. This line right here tells you everything you need to know about Brutus's thinking. He's obsessed with making this murder look moral. He doesn't want it to be a bloody coup. No, he imagines it as a clean, almost religious sacrifice, a necessary evil to save Rome. He wants to carve him as a dish fit for the gods. The thing is, he's still killing a man, and this desire to keep the whole thing clean is going to backfire spectacularly. And here's where that idealism leads to some truly terrible calls. Cassius wants everyone to swear an oath. Brutus says no, their noble cause should be enough. Then, here's the big one, he argues they should spare Mark Antony. He totally underestimates him, calls him just a limb of Caesar, basically a party boy who's useless without his leader. Brutus is so worried that killing Antony too would make them look like butchers instead of sacrificers. Every single one of these decisions is guided by his honor, and every single one is a huge strategic mistake. And so, armed with these noble intentions and some seriously flawed logic, the conspirators head to the Senate on the Ides of March. This is it, the point of no return. And then it happens. In one of the most famous scenes ever written, they surround Caesar and they strike him down. The irony is just staggering. He dies at the base of a statue of Pompey, the rival he had to crush to get all his power. The soothsayer's prophecy comes true. In the chaos right after, Brutus steps up to explain what they've done. You see, in his mind, it's not murder. It was a consequence. Caesar's ambition was a debt, and they just made him pay it. He genuinely, 100% believes the people of Rome are going to understand, that they're going to thank him for saving the Republic. Yeah, they don't. Brutus's perfect, idealistic vision of a peaceful transition of power just shatters into a million pieces. Instead of bringing back order, the assassination unleashes absolute chaos and paves the way for a brutal, bloody civil war.
So if we're talking themes here, ambition is obviously a huge one. Caesar's ambition to be king is what gets him killed. But the real kicker is that the conspirators' ambition, their ambition to create their perfect version of Rome, ends up being just as destructive, if not more so.
And betrayal. Man, betrayal is the engine that makes this whole story run. Cassius betrays Brutus's trust by manipulating him. But the betrayal that's at the very heart of the play is Brutus betraying his friend, Caesar. He sacrifices his personal loyalty for a political idea. It's a gut punch. And all of this is powered by manipulation. Cassius is a master manipulator, playing on Brutus's ego and honor with things like forged letters. But the ultimate act of manipulation, that comes from Mark Antony, the guy Brutus thought was harmless. Antony gets up to give a funeral speech, and, with just his words, he brilliantly turns the entire Roman public into an angry mob that goes hunting for the conspirators. Standing over Caesar's dead body, Antony says this chilling prophecy. This is the direct result of Brutus's fatal miscalculation. Brutus thought he was performing a clean surgery on the body politic, but what he really did was unleash the dogs of war, a vicious civil war that's going to tear Rome apart and destroy the very republic he was trying to save.
And that leaves us with the central, haunting question of the whole play. Brutus acted out of principle. He really did love Rome. He was, by all accounts, an honorable man. But his actions led to more tyranny, more death, and the end of the Republic. So we have to ask ourselves, do good intentions matter if the result is total chaos? It's a question that makes Julius Caesar feel like it could have been written yesterday.